You think you're a Disney expert? Yeah, right. Well, it's time to prove it. With this episode of Disney Jeopardy, welcome in. As always, I am your host, Bryan Perri. Thanks so much for joining me. I've got 26 trivia clues that will reveal the truth. Are you a fraud or are you a true Disney fanatic? Last week, the final Jeopardy wheel landed on Cinderella, which means the princess and her beautiful, drop-dead gorgeous sisters will be taking center stage as your first category today. I've got 4 others in my back pocket as well, so let's take a look at the board and see what's in store for episode 168. After Cindy Lou Who, we've got song combos. Your third category is alphabetize this. What do I have for the theme parks this week? It's Something's Off. And finally, what did the club DJ members choose? They chose Rhyme Time. It was a closer vote than usual this week. Disney plus roulette comes up just a bit short. American flags just get 16% of love. That sound means it's time for the cupcake round, aka the easiest round of the game. Beginning with a 200-pointer for Cinderella. While Lady Tremaine is still in bed, she gives Cinderella this order and involves Lucifer, causing him to cringe. Correct answer is bathe him. All right, let's move on to song combos now. I've taken the titles of 2 different Disney songs. I've broken them up a bit, and then I've combined the 2 titles. You'll have to identify the original names of the 2 Disney songs. I feel like I overcomplicated that. Let's just take a look at the first clue. It's worth 200 points. I just can't wait to be a cat. Name the 2 songs. So the correct answer combines the Lion King song, I Just Can't Wait to Be King, with Everybody Wants to Be a Cat from the Aristocats. Yes, that iconic scene that I love so much was also brought to life last week in the Brian's Terrible Drawings series. And thanks to your votes in the comments section, it is the 3rd t-shirt to join the series on DisneyJeopardy.com. You can scoop it up today. You can also scoop up a mug. You might notice I added some color to make the image pop a little more. We move on now to alphabetize this. In this category, I'll show you parts of 3 images, 3 logos from brands or companies or restaurants that you might see in a Disney or Pixar film. You'll have to put them in alphabetical order. Let's take a look at the first clue from the category. Well, there are your 3 logos, 1, 2, and 3. Put them in alphabetical order. The correct answer is 2, 3, 1. That's because the number 2 logo is Al's Toy Barn. We go in alphabetical order. You've got Dinoco as the number 3, and then the Snuggly Duckling comes last. That, of course, from Tangled. All right, let's move on now to Something's Off. In this category, I'll show you an image from a Disney park, and there'll be something wrong with the image. I altered it a little bit. You'll have to find the error. Here's your first clue. The legendary Anniversary Castle at Magic Kingdom. What's off about the image? Well, that castle was built for the 1996 season at Walt Disney World, which means it was celebrating the 25th birthday of the park, or 25th anniversary. You might notice there's a 20 there. So it's the wrong number. It should be 25 instead of 20. Let's finish off the cupcake round now with Rhyme Time. The daughter of a village chief, plus what Darla claims to be while sitting in the dentist chair. Darla is from one of my favorite Pixar movies ever, Finding Nemo. Does anyone remember what she yells while sitting in the dentist chair? She yells a lot of things. One of them is I'm a piranha. What does piranha rhyme with? How about Moana?
Let's see those pearly whites.
I'm a piranha. They're in the Amazon.
Cupcake round complete. We move on now to Cindy. For the second time, it's worth 4. Gus's real name. So Cinderella gave Gus the nickname Gus, but she also gave him his real name, I guess you could say. That would be Octavius.
I've got one. Octavius. But for short, we'll call you Gus.
Here's your second clue from Song Combos. Hail to the Princess Company. What 2 songs am I combining here? One from Sleeping Beauty, the other from Pocahontas. Correct answer is Hail to the Princess Aurora. That is a song on the Sleeping Beauty soundtrack. And Virginia Company from Polka.
Hail to the Princess Aurora, for glory, God, and gold, and the Virginia Company.
Here comes Alphabetize This for the second time. 3 images of 3 different things within Disney lore. Put them in alphabetical order. You got 1, 2, and 3 there. Well, to start in alphabetical order, we start with number 1. That is Fix-It Felix Jr. from Wreck-It Ralph. That is the banner that you see atop the arcade machine. What comes next? That's number 3, Gusteau's from Ratatouille. And finally, that's the Pizza Planet logo in the middle. So the correct answer is 1, 3, 2. On to Something's Off for 400. Here's a nice look at the entrance to the Haunted Mansion. What's off? Well, you're looking at the entrance and part of the queue for Disneyland's Haunted Mansion. You might remember Orlando and Magic Kingdoms is on the banks of the RIP rivers of America, so that is not what this entrance looks like. So what's off? Well, that is Disney World's Haunted Mansion in the back. So it's the wrong building. Here's a look at the actual image. Very different looking. Let's move on to rhyme time for the second time. Where Walt Disney was born, plus Jafar's sidekick. Some people might get confused and believe that the one and only Walt was born in Marceline, Missouri, but that is not the case. No, he moved there when he was just a little lad. Instead, he was born in Chicago. What does Chicago rhyme with? Well, you should have gotten the second part. Iago. Second round complete. We're moving on to the 600s now. It's back to Cinderella. While Lady Tremaine plays the piano and Drizella sings Sing Sweet Nightingale, Anastasia plays this instrument. I just learned this today. I thought the song that was sung in this scene was called Sweet Nightingale, not Sing Sweet Nightingale, but I was wrong, and yes, Drizella was the one singing. Their mother was playing the piano. What instrument was Anastasia playing? She was playing the flute. Shout out Jethro Tull.
Sing, sweet nightingale, sing, sweet nightingale.
Here comes song combos for 6. A place called New York City. So what Disney song begins with a place and what Disney song ends with New York City? Well, the first half comes from Ralph Breaks the Internet. That's a place called Slaughter Race, sung by Penelope von Schweetz. In terms of New York City, that is the song Once Upon a Time in New York City from Oliver and Company.
Now it's always once upon a time in New York City.
All right, let's move on now. It's Alphabetize This for the halfway point of the game. Put them in order. Well, joke's on you. You actually didn't have to do anything because the correct answer is 1, 2, 3. First up, you've got By and Large from Wally. Next up, it's Duff Beer from The Simpsons, now, of course, owned by Disney. And finally, it's the Wilderness Explorers from Up. Here's Something's Off for the third time. Take a look at the ride and tell me what's off. Well, that's an old image of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. What's off about it? Well, the track doesn't look like a railroad track. It's missing its ties. Here comes rhyme time for 6. A sister to Flora, plus where you'll often find the Oaken family. Well, Flora's got two sisters in Sleeping Beauty. Merryweather is one of them, and she has absolutely nothing to do with the correct answer here. Fauna is the other one, so Fauna is the first half of the answer. What's the other half? What rhymes with Fauna? Well, this is where the Oaken family is in Frozen 1, at least when we meet them. A sauna. Yoo-hoo! We're moving on to the 800-point round where things get tough. If they weren't tough already, it's Cinderella for 8. After the pumpkin, name every type of animal that is transformed to help bring Cinderella's royal coach to life. Well, Fairy Godmother could have gone the easy route and just made Cinderella's horse a horse at the front of the carriage. But no, the horse becomes the coachman, so horse is 1. And you've got the mice, of course. They become the horses, so keep track of that. So you've got horse, mice, and Bruno the dog. All right, let's move on. It's song combos again. Fathoms Unknown. Fathoms Unknown. Let's break it down. What Disney song begins with fathoms? That would be Fathoms Below, one of the first songs you hear in The Little Mermaid. As for Unknown, well, I think you all know that. It's from Frozen 2. Into the Unknown is the second half of your answer.
Look up, Madam Mermaid, be waiting for you in mysterious fathoms below.
Into the unknown.
We now move on to alphabetize this for 8. 3 logos there, put them in order. The correct answer is 312. That's because the number 3 is Encam, the name of the company from Tron. Number 1 is Foghorns, the Foghorns, the team that Riley plays for in Inside Out, the hockey team. Finally, it's Knowsmore, the search engine from Ralph Breaks the Internet. Here comes something's off for 8. Well, you were looking at Tiana's Bayou Adventure, the old Splash Mountain attraction. You can tell it's Tiana's by the signage and, of course, the water tower. Now, when it did change to Tiana's Bayou Adventure from Splash Mountain over in Anaheim, it wasn't the only thing that changed. An entire area of the park changed its name as well. It used to be called Critter Country. When it became Tiana's Bayou Adventure, the area was changed to Bayou Country. So the sign is incorrect. Last clue before the 1000s, it's rhyme time. What the talking tree says in the MCU, plus name of the adolescent tugboat in Melody Time. Well, the first half of the clue is relatively easy if you've seen any of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies or even the most recent Avengers films. It is I Am Groot. What about the second half of the clue, though? Well, you had to see Melody Time in order to get this right. The name of the tugboat and also the short that is part of the film is Little Toot. So I Am Groot and Little Toot. 20 clues are down and 6 remain, including Final Jeopardy. But before we get there, you know what time it is. It is time for the most overly dramatic soundtrack infused unnecessarily spotlight part of the game. 1,000-point round. Hit it. All right, let's get this 1,000-point round started with a little Cinderella action. Actually, before we do that, I do have to say, rewatching Cinderella, she has skyrocketed all the way to the top of my Princess Power Rankings list that nobody asked for. She's right up there, though. She's probably top 3 princess because she's so sweet. She's so sweet, and I feel so bad for her. All right, back to the game. Here's your final clue from 1950 Cindy. This is the time that Prince Charming and Cinderella leave their wedding at the end of the film. That kind of plays on the whole midnight thing. The correct answer is also 12 o'clock, though I would assume this time is noon, unless I guess they live in like Alaska or one of those places where it's daylight all the time for part of the year. But 12 o'clock is the correct answer. Here's your final clue from Song Combos. One Little Camp. Well, if you're a Disney Jeopardy fan, you might remember just, I believe it was last week, I taped your eyelids open and forced you to watch Chicken Little. And that means you might remember that One Little Slip is a song from Chicken Little. As for the second half, Jen's in camp. I'm looking for Trashin' the Camp from Tarzan.
One little slip. One little slip.
One Little Camp. All right, here's Alphabetize This. 1,000. Ooh, 3 interesting logos here. Put them in order, alphabetically, of course. Well, leading us off is number 2, which is Insuracare, the company that Bob worked for at the beginning of The Incredibles. Next up, it's Oceanic Airlines. That's the name of the airline that crashed at the start of the Disney television show Lost, the ABC television show. And finally, in last place, number 3, it's Stark Industries. But once again, you've got Insuracare, Oceanic, and Stark Industries. Here's Something's Off for the final time. We are back at Disneyland. Look at all the marquees, look at everything, look at the castle. Something's off. Well, you are at the very start or end of Main Street, depending on how you look at it. But one thing's for sure, the train track is supposed to split. That's right, there's no trolley track on the left there. But there should be. Here comes rhyme time right before Final Jeopardy. The song Elsa's mother sings her in Frozen 2, plus Disney's remake of their own 1961 film, The Incredible Journey. So I have never seen The Incredible Journey, and if I'm being honest, I didn't even know it existed. Does that make me a Disney film? Maybe it does. Something I need to do ASAP. The Incredible Journey is a 1961 movie about 2 dogs and a cat going on an incredible journey. What was it remade as about 3 decades later? That is Homeward Bound. So what does Homeward Bound rhyme with? How about All Is Found? All right, Disney Jeopardy players, thanks for sticking with me through 25 clues, though it means nothing until Final Jeopardy. Hopefully, you've accumulated a ton of points and are willing to risk it all for the thrill. We do need to find out what the Final Jeopardy category is, so it's time for the Final Jeopardy wheel spin. Spin. You know, you win some, you lose some. And I don't want to knock the adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, but when you're following the footsteps of Cinderella, it's a little tough. Come on, that was good. That was good. Anyway, yes, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, a classic Disney movie that I'm sure a lot of you haven't seen, so make sure you watch it this week. Right now, though, you're just going to have to wager based on your knowledge. All right, it's time for the final clue of episode 168, and I will say, we're not doing a Final Jeopardy wheel spin next week in episode 169 because we already know episode 170 is all about Toy Story, but we'll get to that next week. That's right, Toy Story Jeopardy is coming in anticipation of Toy Story 5. As for now, it's all about the adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. The final clue of the game is on its way. As the film's title suggests, the movie is split into 2 stories, one focused on Mr. Toad and the other focused on Ichabod Crane. Name the 2 books that the stories come from. Good luck. And time is up. You know, it's kind of funny. Disney was going through an interesting time when they were producing movies like this, but this one in particular is one of the most unique because it's like I said, it's just two stories. It's not a bunch of shorts. It's two stories that aren't really short films, but they're not long either. They're around 30 minutes. So I don't know what Disney was thinking here, combining these two stories. Again, they don't have anything to do with each other, and they're from different generations. They didn't even come out here at the same time. I'm talking about the books, of course. So what are the titles to these two books? Well, when we start the movie, we learn that we are going to dive into the story of Mr. Toad first, and his book is called The Wind in the Willows. So that's half of your answer. When that story is done, we move on to the second one, which is all about Ichabod Crane. That book is called The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And that does it for episode 168 of Disney Jeopardy. Thank you so very much for watching Bunny Eclipse. What a pose, what a pose this is. How excited are you that Disney Jeopardy pets are back? I am thrilled. You can see them on the screen right there. We're going to try to squeeze in a few extras because so many of you sent me messages of your beautiful, absolutely beautiful sidekicks. So thanks for that. I love them all so very much, and so does Bunny. Keep them coming no matter what type of animal they are. I want to see them, and I want to know that they're watching me so that I am on my best behavior and best performance. Right, Bunny? Right? Aren't they all so beautiful? Now it is time for the Club DJ poll. Lock in your vote to help decide one of the 5 categories in next week's episode. See that Disney Plus roulette is on there. What does that mean? Well, it will have to win for you to find out. Now, you know the deal. If you like what you saw, do me a favor, subscribe and click that bell icon. Hello, bell. That was that one. Hello, bell. This way, you're notified every time we come out with brand new content. I've been your host, Bryan Perri. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next week in episode 169. Until then, Bunny, you want a treat? I thought so.
Bye-bye.